Hello, welcome back to day 2 of Missionary Story. Do you remember where we left off? Why was Lucy sneaking down in the middle of the night? Yeah, she was finding that letter that she had overheard Gran and Granddad reading. And who found her? When she saw that she was caught in the act and Granddad was right there, Lucy just burst into tears. But Granddad kind of took her by the shoulders and he said, "Lucy dear, whatever is the matter?" When Lucy realized that Granddad wasn't angry with her, she told him the whole thing. She told him about how when she had come home that day from school, she had overheard them there in the room and she had actually quietly listened in on what they were saying. And she said, "I know it's wrong to read other people's letters, Granddad, but I had to know. After all, he is my father." "Yes," Granddad said, "it is wrong to read other people's letters. But I'm glad I found you, Lucy. Now we can talk about this. We probably should have told you before, but we thought you'll be 14 when your father gets out of prison, and we had time, and by then you'll have to decide who you want to live with. I hope they don't force you to live with one or the other. But if your father wants to meet you, he can come here." "Does he want to meet me?" Lucy asked. "Yes, he does," Granddad answered. "But, Lucy, he's asking about being your guardian, and he wouldn't be a good guardian for you. He's not been a good man." "What has he done?" Lucy asked again. And so, Granddad explained everything as he knew it from the beginning. He said that Lucy's mother and father were very young when they had met. They fell in love quickly and wanted to get married, but that Gran had been against it from the beginning. And because of that, they had gone off and gotten married and moved to Spain, which was nearby England. Her father even had a house there in Spain that they moved into. And Granddad said, "That's the last time we saw our daughter, your mother. She wrote and told us that she was expecting you, but then we heard that she died soon after you were born." "But what happened then?" Lucy said. "What about me?" "Well, we wrote him right away and begged your father to bring you to us. We would take care of you. But we didn't hear anything back from him until you were 3 years old. He showed up here in a taxi with you with him. He came in and he told us that he wanted us to take care of you, and he put you in Gran's arms." "Why would he do that?" Lucy asked. "Didn't he love me?" "Oh, I believe he did love you. But I believe that as long as you were with him, he felt like he still had part of your mother there. But for some reason, we didn't know why then, he came, he handed you to us, and he left. It was some time later that we heard that he had been put in prison. Oh, Gran said she wasn't one bit surprised, that she knew he was a bad one to start with. And we decided then that you wouldn't know anything about him. But you're going to have to know when he gets out of prison, so maybe it's best that you know now." And he took a deep breath and said, "Maybe it's time we go back to bed." It was a long time that night before Lucy could get to sleep. And the next morning she kind of slept in, so she had to hurry to catch the bus. Nobody said anything about what had happened the night before. But as soon as she got home from school, Gran didn't waste any time in telling her what she thought of young ladies who read other people's letters. "But Gran," Lucy said, I knew it was about me and about my father. I had to know. After all, I am 12 years old." "Oh, Lucy," Gran said in a trembling voice, "I hope you'll never have anything to do with that man. And no one should be able to take you from us now, not after all these years." Lucy knew that her Gran really did love her, so she threw her arms around her and gave her a big hug. Then Lucy went outside and shadow came up, and she decided to go to a place, one of her favorite spots out in the woods, where she liked to sit and think. There was a lot to think about. It was a peaceful spot, nice and warm by a stream, and it was quiet. Until all of a sudden Shadow raised his head and he started to growl. Lucy looked up and here came a boy walking toward her, limping toward her. She saw that his foot was cut badly. "Hi there," he said. "You don't happen to have something to bandage my foot, do you?" "Ooh, what did you do?" Lucy asked. "I stepped on some broken glass in the stream." "Well, I could help you walk home. Where do you live?" Lucy said. "Oh, I live in Eastbury. That's way too far. I'd probably bleed to death by the time we got there." Lucy kind of chuckled and she said, "Well, I could help you to our house. Gran will fix you up and Granddad can call your house and somebody can come pick you up." And so the boy agreed. It took them longer than normal to get back to their house because he really was badly hurt. On the way, he told Lucy all about himself. His name was Donald, but he said she could call him Don. He told her that he was 12 years old, just like her, and that he and his father had just moved into town recently. His father had bought the hotel in town. Since he hadn't lived in the area long, he really hadn't met anyone else his age and didn't have any other friends yet. Well, as soon as they got home, Gran saw him from the window and came running out, and she cleaned Don up and bandaged his foot, and Granddad called for Don's father. Wasn't long till he was there. Don was getting in the car and he called back, "Cheerio, Lucy. Maybe I'll see you soon." Lucy laughed again. She really liked this boy and she was glad she had met him. She hoped that she would see him again. Well, she didn't have any need to worry because many mornings Lucy woke up hearing Don's old bike coming in the driveway and hearing the bell he would ring on his bike. And they really became good friends. He got to know Gran and Granddad and they got to know him. He really liked them. He had never known his grandparents, so he just seemed to decide he could share Lucy's. One of the things they loved to do was Lucy and Don would go out into the woods and watch for birds. One special day, Don came with a new pair of binoculars. They were a nice pair. He said that his father had gotten it for him for his birthday. Don and Lucy sat down and they were watching for birds. And then after a little bit of quiet, Don said, "Lucy, what happened to your father? Is he dead?" Well, Lucy really liked Don and she had learned to trust him, and so she didn't mind his question. And because she did trust him, she told him all about what she knew. How her father wasn't dead, but that he was in prison. And then she asked him, "Don, what would you do if your dad had been in prison and you found out and now he said he wanted to see you?" Don didn't hesitate for a minute. He said, "I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd find him. I'd go see him and I'd say, 'Dad, I don't care what you've done. I'm still your boy.'" "But Don," Lucy said, how would I do that? I can't go see him. Gran doesn't want me to see him." Don thought, "We'll have to come up with a plan." Well, then Don realized what time it was and he said, "I'm sorry, Lucy, I gotta go. I'm supposed to be helping Mr. Smith run errands." "Who's Mr. Smith?" Lucy asked. "Oh, he's a friend of my dad's. He's been living at our hotel. He's a really nice guy, but he's not feeling very well. So Dad said if I helped him, Dad would pay me some money. You know I'm trying to save up money for a new bike. Mr. Smith, he's a writer." "A writer?" Lucy said. "A writer, like a writer of books that get printed and that people read?" "Well, yeah," Don said. "What else would you do with books?" Oh, Lucy thought that was the coolest thing. Don knew a real live author? "Oh, I'm going to have to meet him someday," she said as Don went off. Lucy really didn't see Don again for a little while. Maybe it was a busy time of year. Easter was coming. But she didn't forget about this author that Don knew. And she didn't forget about Don saying that they'd have to come up with a plan for her to see her father. Lucy kept thinking and thinking, what would they do? Well, one thing she decided was, whatever they decided, she wouldn't tell Gran and Granddad. Now, Lucy was making a big mistake. Gran and Granddad were the very people she should have been talking to. But she decided not. Easter came, and Gran and Granddad went to church, especially on Easter, and Lucy usually went with them. But when she did, she usually didn't pay any attention. She just kind of let her mind wander. But this day she did listen. Maybe because it was Easter, she especially listened to the songs that they were singing. And the words to the one song kind of stuck in her head and kept going through her mind. It said, "He died that we might be forgiven. He died to make us good." Well, Lucy had listened enough in church to know they were talking about Jesus, the Son of God. And she had always heard, Jesus died on the cross so you could be forgiven for your sins and go to heaven someday. That's kind of the way she thought of it. She really never paid any attention. Lucy could have been thinking about herself and the wrong things she had done and that she needed to be forgiven for, things that we know about, like taking other people's letters and sneaking around and not being honest with her grandparents. But she wasn't thinking about herself. Lucy thought, if Jesus died so we could be forgiven, and he died to make us good, could that be true for her father? Could he be forgiven? Could he be made good? Well, if that was true, Lucy thought, that could make all the difference. Do you think that's true? Could that happen to her father? And what's this plan that she and Don are going to come up with and not tell Gran and Granddad? Come back and we'll find out next time.